Someone had to say it. Welcome back to Someone Had to Say It. On today's episode, Julia and Heidi talked about paying bills with OnlyFans, selling organs on the black market, how they both have crazy vivid dreams, solving problems with violence, the cure to all of our problems. Can you guess what it is? It starts with S and ends with X, and so much more. You don't want to miss it. Thank you for listening. Subscribe if you haven't, and rate Someone Had to Say It on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Enjoy. Welcome back, everyone. I have my good friend and co-host Heidi Shertok here. Welcome back.
Hello. So good to be here.
I love talking to you. We decided right now, like, okay, we're not going to talk ahead of time. We're just going to record because people are missing out on good stuff.
I know we should just live stream our lives together and, because we're so much fun. And yes, I think people would really appreciate that.
I think, yes, to a point, because there's certain things they're going to be like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But then those things we can do. I was going to say OnlyFans account.
There you go. Hey.
But my husband says that he has a joint account with my son on OnlyFans for the people who have a foot fetish.
What?
I know. He and my son apparently have like an account where they just show their feet and they get tons of money. But I'm not seeing this money. So
wait. Seriously? Because I tried that with a friend. It didn't work.
No way. With your feet?
Listen, someone's got to pay for college, right? my matchmaking business it's up and down. There's seasons where it's like, more in demand.
Sexy
and
concept.
We're like, let's try it, right? We have cute feet. I have like size 5, right?
Oh my gosh, that's too funny.
Apparently people are really into that. So that lasted for about, I don't know, a month. It didn't go anywhere because you have to get followers, like on social media, right?
You are too funny. This is for real?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, because I'm pretty sure my husband is joking, but okay.
Well, you better check.
So we have to start maybe on the side. We'll do a side business.
Listen, I joked for a long, long time, and then my kids are like, "Oh my gosh, so tired of hearing it. Just do it. Just see what happens." It's just feed, right? And it brings people happiness. Whatever, right?
Why not?
It didn't work. I mean, honestly, we even tried to get some really high accounts to like repost, because when they do it, then their followers go follow us,
Right.
But I think like one person paid us $5, and it's like, wait, I just spent an entire weekend, like all of Sunday, I think it was, taking pictures of my cute feet in sand by the beach, by the pool. And I'm like, $5? No, how do we grow this? It didn't work. You have to be like Kim Kardashian, you have to be a celebrity, and then
the feed pics come after. Yeah.
Right. So
let's get
your book's gonna come out. We're gonna make you super famous, and then we'll ride the coattails.
Then we'll do the OnlyFans feed account.
Right.
It makes sense.
I mean, when you have kids, right? It's like either sell a kidney or only.
I looked that up one time. You can make like 200 grand selling a kidney.
I know.
It's good money. Yeah.
And you can even just donate parts of your liver, I guess, or I don't know if it's parts of a kidney. I think it's liver that regenerates and grows back.
Right.
So I think it's liver. I don't know. I just watched the SWAT episode of that, which you want hot black cops.
Yeah.
Watch SWAT.
Okay. I never even heard of this show. Is it on Netflix?
It's on Netflix. Yeah. I mean, like the original SWAT that was back in the 80s,
No, I don't think I do.
Oh, yeah. If you hear this song, you'll know. Okay. Our listeners, I'm sure they know. But okay, so look up the original.
Okay.
And then the newer version, it's more like, there's just people of all backgrounds. There's an Asian cop, there's a black cop. I'm sure there's a Jewish cop. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it's there.
Well, maybe
But
the Asian or the black cop are also Jewish.
no,
No.
they're not, because they talked about church and because that would be
Okay.
really cool, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, but that was I don't know, how did I get on that? Oh yes, the liver. Yeah, so I looked it up after the episode. Apparently the liver regenerates, so you can give someone just a piece of your liver and it grows, so there's money there. You're not really losing anything.
But why does anyone want just a piece of the liver?
Because you can't give someone your entire liver. You only have one. So then you die. But a piece of your liver, meaning that piece is going to grow into a full-size liver.
Okay.
It regenerates.
Do they put it in an incubator or just straight in the body? Or do they do a Jeffrey Dahmer thing where they freeze it? Is it like put it in the microwave, season it?
Oh, wow. I want to say it's not the last one, but I don't know.
No judgment.
Listen, we're going to have to look that up because there's, options, and we all have children who cost a lot of money. So,
yeah. And this is better than having to murder someone like Jeffrey Dahmer had to do.
Well, but yeah, I guess you could do that. I do have contacts to the Russian mob, but they don't typically like to use women to do their business,
Wow.
They're very traditional that way. It's
good for them.
The men do the hard work. The women, maybe although I keep saying I will be the most amazing mob boss ever because I will promote nonviolence. Let's talk it out to the point that.
What's the point? Yeah.
Well, because they get so sick of hearing my voice, they're just gonna be like, just take it and go. Fine, that's whatever,
You're right. Yeah, no, I'll be your second in command, and I'll be like, listen to Julia or else.
Yeah.
And then I'll be the violent one.
Right. Yeah. There you go. See,
I could be your bodyguard. Yeah.
There's that Russian saying where you can solve everything with violence or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know how it goes or where it came from, but I just remember my kids saying stuff like that at school.
Okay.
Because, I say shit like that all the time to them. Sure. And, oh, I love you so much, I'm going to kill you. Yeah. So there was a time where, it's just such a cultural thing. And I remember my son said that to someone in kindergarten, pre-K. I don't know how old he was, but he just, I don't know if it was a little girl or a little boy. And he was just like, oh my God, you're my best friend. I love you so much. I could just kill you.
Red flag, Child Protective Services, right?
The kid ran to the teacher. Is like, he just told me he wants to kill me. And she called me immediately. I'm like, no. It's just such a cute little Russian saying. So much, I'm going to kill you.
I'm learning so much about Russian culture from you. I love it.
It's ridiculous. It's kind of crazy. We're not really Russian. We're Russian speaking, but everything encompassing that whole USSR, So anyway.
Yeah.
How did we get on this?
I don't know. I thought we were going to talk about dreams, and we haven't even gotten to the dreams yet. I want to hear about your dreams about your dad.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. So I was going to ask you, do you have vivid dreams? Do you dream a lot, right?
Yeah, every night. I have the craziest dreams. And sometimes my husband said to me, actually, when we were on vacation recently in Phoenix, he said, you woke me up because you were laughing.
Yes, you told me that. Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. So yours, they're like, do they go on and on, or it's multiple?
Yeah. It feels like they go on for hours, but I'm sure, maybe in real time, who knows how long they go for.
Interesting.
Probably shorter.
But what about you? This is why you're a writer. This is why you're an author, is because I think a lot of this stuff is what makes us so creative. I'm the same way. I have these dreams that my husband calls them movies, because they're like real, of literally I see like that little old, round thing that played the movies in my head. every night. And I listened to a podcast with some spiritual, like psychic person. I love that stuff. And she was saying, if you want a really good night of sleep,
Mhm.
uninterrupted, peaceful, no crazy dreams, no nightmares, just sleeping all night, take a lime, cut it in half, put it next to your bed, like on a nightstand in a bowl, and
Okay.
whatever the scent from the lime and the smell of what it's supposed to soothe you, calm you. So I was
Oh.
like, okay, I'm gonna try it. So I did that, and my husband got an amazing night of sleep. I don't think he even left the bed to go to his room that night, but it didn't matter. I had great dreams. They were not nightmares, although one night was a nightmare. But yeah, no, it's absolutely insane. And they feel so real, right? Yours too?
Yes, so real. Where even like later in the day, I'll be like, wait, did that really happen? Like I have to stop and think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I feel like I could write a whole book in just my dreams. Nobody's gonna care because they're mine. They're not very interesting to other people. But I'm sitting there and I started writing them down in the morning, which is kind of fascinating. Then I go back and read some of them. I'm like, what? What, who, why, what, like they're just like crazy. Last night, for example, my I've been asking my dad to come to me in my dreams because I'm not really feeling things during the day, and they say you're more open to stuff when you're sleeping, right? And I was reading something about how the Kabbalah talks about dreams, and how it's like a huge meaning, the people that are passed on come to you in your dreams, and there's all this stuff about it. So last night, finally, I had a dream about my dad, and it was so real. Like I was holding his hand. I could
Oh,
feel like his hand, and it was the same pattern where he is trying to tell me, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. I'm always with your mom. And she's always telling me, I don't feel him. I don't feel him. He's not around. It's not the same. And I keep telling her, he is. So in my dream, I'm like, Mom, he's sitting right next to you. Literally, look, 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 he's right there. I took his hand, and she was like, oh, it's not the same. It's not him. I'm like, but he's right there. So my entire dream, I don't know how long it went on for, was me just trying to convince my mom that he's here with her.
that's funny. It sounds almost like something that would happen if he was alive. Like
Right.
just you having to play like, the intermediary or something like that,
Yeah.
between the two of them. Yeah.
Which I did. I always did. My dad would call me and tell me, like, can you find your mother? She left about 4 hours ago. And she wouldn't leave notes. And this was like maybe before cell phones. So nobody knew where she was. And I don't know where she is. It's like, well, she said she was going to the mall, but it's been 5 hours. I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine. Give it another hour.
Yeah, for real. Sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and I'll feel so exhausted, and I'll feel like it's because I was pretty much up all night being chased or chasing somebody else, or, seeing my husband have sex with another woman. And then he'll always be like, I'm sorry, is that a problem? In the dream. He's always like so relaxed about it, and even annoyed, like borderline annoyed that I'm like horrified. So
Um,
anyway, I feel like I'll wake up in the morning and feel like, okay, I need to nap because I have to
mhm.
recover from this so hyperactive dream of mine.
I get that. I truly understand because I feel exhausted too. Wait, so can we talk about, so he's totally cool, all like in your dream, but then when you tell him
Yeah.
about the dream in person in real life, what does he
He
say
says
about it?
he says that sounds about right.
Oh, man, I gotta meet this man. This is
Yeah, he's
hysterical.
like, yeah, I'll come on whenever you want me.
For
So,
sure. Oh, yes, we're having him on. We'll have my husband come on too, and they can share. It sounds like they have a lot of very similar wives. Where
yes.
it would be totally something I would say. I don't think my husband has many dreams about other women, but he did tell me he had a dream about Britney Spears like years
Oh,
ago. I mean, years. And I still bring it up. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is like, she's like a little girl. He's like, she's not a little girl. She's like in her 40s or something, you know?
Right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
But to me, she's always going to be a little girl. He's like, she's not that much younger than you. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
guess that makes
True.
sense.
Yeah,
And
in my head, she'll also always be that little girl, and well, not little girl. She was like in high school at the time with
yeah,
like the cute little Catholic girl uniform on.
yep, a
Baby, one
little.
more time.
Oh
Yeah,
my God, I love that. Yeah. It's amazing how much Hollywood has screwed up people. She was probably normal at one point, and
yeah.
all the fame and everything. But speaking of husbands and sex dreams, because I have had that dreams about him, doing it with someone else, and I'll tell him, he's like, "Oh yeah, well tell me more." I'm like, "Wait."
That sounds like my husband.
Right? But he's like, "Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
I would. All right,
yeah,
yeah." Or we talk about like who do you find attractive? And it's so weird. I don't know if you're the same with your husband. Who
yeah.
I find attractive is so different from who he finds attractive.
Yes, I
Same?
know, and it ticks me off because I'll be like,
Yeah,
"No, she's not attractive. She's attractive," and he'll
right.
be like, "I don't get it."
Really? Like, give me an example. Who are we talking about?
I'm trying to think. Okay, like I hope Maya Bialik isn't going to be offended by this. But like Blossom, remember when she
Yeah,
was Blossom for example?
right.
Oh, or Kimmy from Full House.
Yes.
Remember? So
Yes.
he thought those were like growing up, the ultimate
Right.
you can't like those were his Victoria's Secret, type. And I'm like, ew, I think you could have done better.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when they were younger, I'm sure they were like the hottest thing, obviously, with their shows and everything. But yeah, I can see that. I don't find them that attractive either,
So,
honestly.
what about you and your husband? Who did you disagree on?
Well, for example, I mean, we all agree Mila Kunis is like the
Oh,
hottest thing,
he
right?
is. He is
Um,
the best. Yeah.
but like he thinks Sandra Bullock is really gorgeous. Like, and I'm like, really? I mean, she's cute, but I wouldn't say
Really.
she's the hottest thing, he thinks she's drop dead gorgeous.
It's so funny because I used to think that about her. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, but I used to think that about Tom Cruise. And then
Oh, yeah.
I grew up and I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah. I think the whole Scientology thing killed it for me because,
Yes.
I thought it was good looking.
Yeah.
But who else will we totally disagree on? I mean, um, Charlize Theron, who
Oh,
everyone thinks she's gorgeous, and she's
right.
pretty, but he's like, oh my God, she's just so not attractive. I'm like, she's
Really?
pretty attractive. It's not weird. It's
Well, yeah. My husband also, he says he doesn't like blondes.
Oh, there you go. That could be it.
And I don't get it. I think
Yeah,
blondes are really pretty.
I know. I wonder. I know there's a science behind it because I remember talking to someone about it, and I thought about bringing on. We should do that. We should bring on a scientist who researches genetics or how we see others. There's got to be a science behind it, right? Who
Yes,
you're attracted to versus who he's attracted to. So
totally.
I think it's fascinating.
I agree.
Mhm.
I would love to have somebody like that on and explain it to me. I once read a study where there were like men in a bar. I don't know why I said that in a bar. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, oh no, 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 no. This is what it was. They showed men a picture of just a blonde woman, and then they showed men a picture of a brunette woman, and like 9 out of the 10 guys thought that the brunette was more attractive. But
Huh.
then they later followed them in a bar, and it turns out that the men approach the blondes a lot more often than the brunettes because they were more intimidated. Like blondes have a
Mhm.
certain reputation for being a little bit more loose, so to speak.
Yeah, or easy or not as intimidating.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
There's
So,
definitely something to that because I remember reading something about that or hearing about it years ago. It's so true. I remember I had a blonde friend who her name was Candy and was Candace, but she went by Candy. And I can't believe I'm talking about it. She won't be listening to. She moved to Idaho. She's busy, whatever. She's got three girls, but she was blonde, very typical, like beach, California, whatever, Barbie, thin, blonde hair, blue eyes, and no, green eyes. She hears it, she's going to be offended. And and it was funny. We would go out together. I would drag her to all of the Jewish events. She wasn't Jewish, but she would go with me, all the JCC events, all the Shabbat dinners. Like it just, I didn't have a lot of Jewish friends. So she
Yeah.
would come with me everywhere. And she didn't mind. She was like, I get free food and I learned some stuff. She's like, all right, let's go. And so I remember even at the Jewish events, she would get hit on. I
That's so
wouldn't, but
funny.
she would. Even the Jewish guys are like, "Oh, there's a blonde shiksa, let's go." And I remember
Yeah.
thinking, What? Even here, we would go, dancing to a club or whatever when we were young, and she always got the guys would just immediately approach her, talk to her, and just be standing there like, I thought I was cute, you know?
Yeah. I totally would
Like,
have hit on you, Julia. I'm so
thank
sorry that
you.
happened to you. Yeah. Well, maybe they were just intimidated by your beauty.
I don't know, or my resting bitch face, because I've been told, I had
Or
after I
that,
wrote
right?
I when I wrote after wrote my book, and there was a lot of stuff about middle school, high school, when the kids when we first came here and how mean they were. And someone reached out to me that I went to school with, this girl who I wrote in the book about,
Oh
not
my.
I didn't name her. And she's like, Julia, I just had to tell you, I read your book. I was not trying to be mean. I was terrified of you. Everyone was. We thought you had this Russian temper and you could go from nice to murder like within seconds. We were all terrified of you. And
Wow.
so, what here I was trying to, I think maybe protect myself, be the one that hurt someone so before they
Yeah.
could bully me and hurt me.
Yeah.
Maybe, but it was so shocking to me thinking, "You were afraid of me?" I was terrified of everybody in this country when we first came here. This was
That's
so
so
different.
fascinating that from people's different perspectives on the same exact interaction. I find that really
Exactly.
fascinating.
Yeah,
And,
I was shocked.
for my own kids, for example, they all have their own personalities. And my daughter just tends to be a lot more of a strong alpha female.
Mm.
Totally not me, by the way. I mean, I can be like that, but only when I have to be, so to speak. And so
Right.
for her, I'm like, okay, remember, I was constantly like, be nice, be nice. And then my youngest takes after me, and he's a total sweetheart, teddy bear type.
Mm.
And then
Mm.
he came home from synagogue one day, and I'm like, how was it? And he's like, my friends and I bullied somebody. And I'm like, yay, good job, Ari. Mommy's so proud. And then my daughter's like, what are you talking about? You would have killed me if that was me.
Oh my
No, but
god.
then it turns out, like, for him, what he thought was bullying was he explained there was this kid who started kicking them. And then I'm like, honey, that's self-defense, and I'm so
Yeah,
proud of you.
he deserved it. Yeah, okay. Bullying when it's deserved is okay. Yes, I agree with you. Wow, that's crazy. And yes, isn't it funny how each kid is so different and they all come from the same parents, same mom, same dad?
Yes.
Totally different personality. It's not like you can just clone yourself or your husband. They come out totally different, right?
Like, I have two siblings, and we're all completely different.
Wow.
We look
Really?
different, we act different. But we did Ancestry, or I think it's 23andMe, whatever,
Yeah.
Ancestry.com. We did that one. And I did that because I swore I was adopted. Plus, my sister kept telling me I was a Kmart blue light special, like, my whole life. She's like, you had to be on clearance for our parents to buy you.
Oh my
Like,
god.
that's
That
how
is
nobody
so
wanted.
funny.
Yeah. But we are related. So it's the weirdest thing.
Well, you didn't just do it just to prove to yourself that you are not adopted,
No,
right?
I was curious anyway. And I
Okay.
got so excited because at first they said I was 86% Ashkenazi Jewish and,
Mhm.
like, a bunch of other stuff. I'm like, oh my God, there's a scandal. I love scandals.
Yeah.
What is this? But then a year later they came back and they're like, no, actually you're 100% Ashkenazi Jewish.
Wow.
I was
That's
so
so
mad.
weird.
I
Yeah,
called up the
same.
operator woman and I'm like, change this.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah.
go back. Wow,
Go
that's so interesting. I read something the other day that said, God, white people love to do ancestry.com and 23andMe just so they can it will prove that they're white, like they're looking for something else, hoping
That's
there's
so
a little
funny.
something else in them. But yeah, I did this. I don't know why I did it, but it said I was 97 or 98% Ashkenazi, and the other 2 or 3%, I can't remember, it was actually African, which I
No.
guess we all kind of come from, but it said from some village in Kenya.
Wow, that's so
My
cool.
DNA, yeah, matched with women in Kenya in this tiny little village of like 100,000 people or something.
Wow.
So, of course, I want to go there now and be like, "Are you my mother?
Yeah, I'm
Are
so
you my mother?"
jealous. That's
Like
what
that
I
book.
wanted. Yeah.
Are you my mother? Are you my? I'm just gonna walk
Yeah.
around because, like what you said, I never felt like I belonged to my family. And
Oh,
everyone always said, "How are you related to your parents? How are you related to, your whole family? Because you're so different." So I
yeah.
was kind of hoping the same thing that my parents one day would just say, "Actually,
We
you
got
know,
you from this remote village in Kenya. This is the truth.
you just look very white, but they threw you in with the other children, but no, it's can't get away from it. And, according to, I don't know what, but they say children choose their parents. Did you
I've
hear
heard
that?
that.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I think, okay, why? Like, why would I choose my parents? Was there a lesson there? Was there, I mean, I love my parents, but it could have been some celebrity, right? Like, it
I
could have
know.
been
Bad
Clint
choice,
Eastwood.
Julia.
Yeah. What? I could have had money.
Right. The
I
the
didn't,
Hilton family, can we go back and make new
right?
choices? Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't have to struggle. Like, it could have been, so I wonder, but they say there's a lesson in everything. There's a reason why our kids chose us, and my kids are like, "Oh, we definitely did not choose you. Like, we may we may have chosen dad, but
Yeah,
he happened to choose you, and we were hoping for the other girl." I was like,
that's
"Oh,
funny,
thanks, you
but
little
it was
shit."
too late. Yeah.
Yeah. I go, "Well."
It's so funny. I was literally having this exact thought in my head just the other day. I'm like, why did I choose my parents when we're so different? But also, I love them. But it's just exactly
Yeah,
what you were saying. Everybody around us always says, "Where did you come from?" And
yeah,
then they go to my parents. Where did she come from?
right. So
So
interesting.
we
But
came.
see,
What's that?
there's a reason. I mean, there's a reason for that. They say that there's a lesson for us to learn, there's a lesson for them to learn, and I don't know about you, but I feel like we're so similar in so many ways, but I always need to be in charge. But as
Oh,
I'm getting older, I feel like either I'm losing brain cells or I just don't care to make decisions. So now slowly I'm like, okay, I can't make any decisions today. So whoever's with me that day, you're in charge of my decisions.
that's so funny. I'm the opposite. So we're like twins with everything except for this. Because I'm the youngest. And so I'm just used to being bossed around. So even this morning, I'm like, wait, should I have my daughter take the car or should I take the car? So I literally called up Daniel. I'm like, Daniel, tell me what to do because he's the oldest and he loves to boss people around anyway. So he makes fast. Yeah, I don't know. I like people telling me what to do.
Well, there is peace in that. It's almost like, okay, I compared it one time to this, which is probably not a great comparison, but when you meet people, I've met a lot of Christian people like this, or just I'm just gonna leave it up to God. God's, I mean, I'm sure Jewish people, everyone, right? Every decision they make, it's just I'm not gonna stress about it. Whatever God's meant for me to do, I'm going to do. So they leave everything. I mean, everything, there's some really extreme, there's obviously common sense. And yes, there's certain things that are meant to be and you're not supposed to stress about and you leave it up to God. But other things, like, oh, I have this tumor growing underneath, but I'm going to leave it up to God.
Right.
It's like, wait, I think God wants you to go
Mhm.
to the doctor.
Right,
I don't
exactly.
know. But so that's how I feel about that. Like sometimes you just kind of want somebody else to be in charge and it's exhausting. So I
Yes.
get it.
I
I get
know,
it.
and I think it has to do, at least with me, with saving the amount of brain cells I have. The few brain cells I have, I need to reserve those for more important decisions. And,
Right.
it's like Pac-Man. Like, I don't need, being my brain cells being eaten away by these small choices.
Right. I get it. I totally
Yeah.
understand. I'm starting to get that way. I was always so on and needed to be in charge because I felt like everyone else is an idiot and I couldn't make the right choices. So I had to make the choice because, I really thought people are just morons. From a very young age, I remember just kind of thinking, God, most people are just idiots. And I need to step in here. Like as a child,
Yeah.
I don't know why, but this just some neurotic thing, probably.
That you sound exactly like my daughter, because she
Mm.
knows that I'm the moron. So like one time we lost the car at a mall and I was like, she was like 8 and I had to have security come and he's like, "What's your license?" So I told him my license, but it turned out it was from the other car, my first car. And then my little 8-year-old goes, "No, mommy, your current license is blah blah blah." And she just rattled it off. And I just said to the security guard, "Ignore her. She doesn't know what she's talking about."
Wow.
But
But
it
she
turns
did.
out she was right.
Wow. How
And
old was she?
she was 8. And ever since then, we've decided she's going to be the one in charge and I'm the moron. So I grew up the opposite. I grew up like most people, everybody else, they know what they're doing and they need to tell me what to do because I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh my God, that is so funny. I think, well, there's the reason why you were given that child, right? I mean, it
Yeah,
makes sense. That's why she chose you to help you along the way. You're never lost,
she's my caretaker.
right? I mean, that makes sense
Yes.
now. Yeah.
Yes, right,
And so
exactly.
it's very interesting because I find myself doing that with my mom always. I mean,
Oh.
not just now that she's getting older and she's not that old, she's what, 74, 75,
Mhm.
but I've always done that my whole life. So it'd be like, "Hey mom, we're going to the kids' baseball game. It gets cold at night, so make sure you both bring jackets, bring snacks, pack a sandwich." I don't want to pack a sandwich, like they
Wow,
they don't
yep,
they don't have a snack bar. It's out in the middle of whatever. Bring a cooler, and she'd be like, "Oh, do I have to?" Yes.
that's
So
so
can you just
funny.
make extra for us? Fine, I'll make extra. Just don't forget warm shoes, jacket, always. And I
Yeah,
remember my husband say, "Why do you need to remind you?" I'm like, "Because I do. Because they will come in like sandals and shorts." And as soon as the sun goes down, they're going to be freezing and they're going to want to leave and miss the kids'
yeah.
game. So
Oh,
I'm thinking ahead. It's so funny, how,
it's
and they
so funny.
always used to laugh at me and say, "No, we're not like that. We didn't do that." But they did, you
That's so
know?
interesting. So you would worry about them. You
Oh,
would
yeah.
notice these things and worry about them from, like, what age? How far back did this
Um,
go?
I mean, I think being in this country, so that's what I remember. I feel like I blocked out a lot of things that happened in the former Soviet Union. I don't know if our move here was so traumatic. I blocked out so much, but I do remember when we came here and I was 13, and it was always in the back of my mind to remind my parents about this, to tell them about this. I think because, as a teenager, you learn the language so fast, so much faster than your parents, that I
Yeah,
was always like having to remind them about stuff. We have school events coming up, remind them to be there, this and this and that. And they're like, "No, that never happened. I just, you never had to tell us anything." I'm like, "Oh, okay." But okay.
My
Yeah.
my question for you, Julia, is why was the move so traumatic? Describe why. I'm curious.
Huh. Well, I mean, we left the only country we ever knew. and it was just my parents and I, my brother. So
Yeah.
leaving behind everyone you know, and
Oh,
not only, it's not like moving from one state to another in the same country, right? It's
yeah.
moving to a whole new culture, a whole new world, everything, the language, foods, being free. I mean,
Mm,
nobody was free in communism, in Soviet Russia. So, and because we came on our own without any family, can you
yeah.
imagine? Like,
Yeah,
just,
now that you like just laid that out for me, I could see why, especially as a child whose parents didn't know the language. Of course that and leaving behind everybody you ever knew, that would be so frightening. Yeah.
yeah. And I never thought that it was that traumatic, that I kind of block things out subconsciously, almost said unconsciously. And
Mm,
still, like subconsciously, unconsciously. Huh, which one is it? But
yeah.
yeah, it's hard to explain, like people move throughout the world now so easy, and it's not such a shock. But when
Right.
it is a communist regime, like moving from North Korea, where you were never allowed to leave the boundaries of your country. I mean, we could travel within the states, the republics as they were called, like from Ukraine to Latvia to Armenia to Azerbaijan to, all the USSR states, but that's it. You couldn't go anywhere else. I think we could go to Poland maybe, and that was it.
Hmm.
Not much different, but yeah, that's a big reason why. And even though my dad knew English and he was the best out of all of us, but it was still not the English that people spoke here.
Hmm.
It was a very proper British English, and people didn't
Oh,
even understand half the time what he was saying.
yeah.
So, and then, the way we learned it too, it was very much, we didn't really communicate. It was, how you learn a language in school, right? When you go
Yeah.
to that country, you learn Spanish, and then you go to Mexico, Spain, and
Exactly. Right.
you're like, oh my God, I don't know anything. So,
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like when I learned modern Hebrew, like in school,
mm,
for example, and then I actually have Israeli friends and I try conversing with them, they just laugh and laugh.
right?
So, yeah, it's like that. It's just not
Different.
the same.
Right. It's very different. So yeah, I think that's what it is. And I've always felt, I don't know if it's the oldest daughter, there's so much about that, or I felt like it was my responsibility to take care of everyone, and having a younger brother. And he always gets mad when I say that, but I'm like, yeah, I took you around everywhere with me. I had to. My parents were never home, and then we got here, and they shipped us off to these camps, overnight camp in Northern California, this Jewish camp. And it was like, what? It was just such a shock. And there
Yeah.
was a lot of just I did it's like culturally a shock,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's I would not advise people to do that.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Or at least go with family, right? Bring your siblings and aunts and uncles and grandparents. And because back then it was, when you left Soviet Union, you will never see those people again, most likely. If you
Wow.
don't
That's so sad.
all leave,
Yeah.
yeah, when you don't all leave together, it was like a death. We
Yeah.
my grandparents were like, we will never see you again.
Wow.
But it sucks, yeah. So anyway, on happier things.
Yeah.
it's
For
it's
real. I mean,
having
I remember a girl in my class also from the, former Soviet what do you call it? USSR? What do you
I mean, it's USSR, Soviet Union, Soviet Russia,
it's
it's
very
everything.
confusing. But
Yeah.
so anyway, and her name was Svetlana, and I felt so
Mhm.
bad for her because she literally couldn't talk to us.
Yeah.
It was sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you're young, you pick it up very quickly, so
Not
I
Svetlana. No.
really, how old
Yeah.
was she when she came?
What?
How old was she when she
She
came?
came when she was in 7th grade.
That's when I came. Yeah.
Well, you're
And she,
smarter. Stop
no,
showing off. You're hurting
how
her feelings.
how long did it take for her to? Do you know how long it before she
Well,
could speak?
I have no I don't well, she was there till we graduated in 8th grade, and then we all went our separate ways to high school. So I don't know what happened to her, but I know we were never able to communicate past like, hey.
Really? That's
I
so interesting.
tried and she would just kind of smile and you could
Mm.
see in the eyes there was this blankness. I felt, yeah, it's sad.
Wow, I'm so surprised. Well, maybe, we really focused hard on learning the language. We watched all American television, cartoons, which is the best for kids. That's how you learn. We really, besides talking in Russian at home, outside of the house, we never did. I mean, maybe with each other if we were together, but we were completely submerged in American culture, the language, everything.
Yeah.
So we tried, and the first thing people told us is assimilate as soon as you can. Lose your accent, lose the hair, lose the clothes, lose
What do you
everything.
mean lose the hair? That's hilarious.
Well, I was telling someone this the other day. So the way we took care of our hair there, and especially our thick, curly Jewish hair,
Hmm.
is I would wash it, and we didn't even have conditioner back there. Okay, we had shampoo. That was
Wow.
it. So you can imagine what it does to your hair. All you do is shampoo. You never put conditioner in. Nothing is smoothing, taming the whatever humidity and not humid, the frizz.
Yeah.
So, but when we came here and all these products, right, it was like amazing. But we continue to take care of our hair the same way. So I would wash my hair and I would blow dry it without brushing. So once it's dry and huge, and I mean, I look like a Christmas tree, like it
Yeah,
was just like this.
you're right.
Then we would brush it when it was dry. What idiot does that? And so I remember I met this girl in the apartments, our first apartments that we lived in this country. And it had been like 4 months after we came here. And she was like, "What the hell are you doing to your hair?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You don't brush it when it's dry. You wash your hair and then you brush it when it's wet. You can even put some stuff, product in it." I was
Right.
like, "What?"
The
You know,
mind blown.
so she showed me how to do, everything, and then she actually told me to start shaving my legs. She's like, "You're 13, 14 years old. Start shaving your legs." I was like, "Oh, we're supposed to do that?" It was crazy. Wearing
So women in
deodorant.
Russia didn't shave their
I
armpits or anything?
No, I think they did, but it was so primitive, the devices that they had there, or using men's razors, or I don't even know what they did. I need to ask my mom that because, I was 13 when we came, but I think it was so primitive. And I don't think my mom did until we moved to this country either, because there was just not any devices or razors or things.
Mm.
They didn't have like the gel, the shave cream, whatever. So yeah, everything was just a big shock to us. And I tell people, you have to understand that Soviet Union was behind every other country. It was a third world country. It really was. And it was they were behind by 30 years, 20, 30 years most
Wow.
other countries. So we didn't have microwaves. This was like in the 70s, 80s. We came in 89. We didn't have a microwave.
Hmm.
We had a refrigerator. A lot of people didn't even have that. We had a
Wow.
TV. A lot of people had black and white TVs. I mean, almost 1990, and we didn't even have, like, you think about, we didn't have a dishwasher, we didn't have washing machines.
Why was that? Why was
Because
it behind so much? Yeah.
they focused on military, they
Um,
focused on having the most tanks and they were constantly thinking either they were going to take over the world or someone's
Oh,
going to attack them again, and after
interesting.
the war, I mean, it kind of makes sense because after the war, they were so devastated. Russia lost what, 13 million people or something, Soviet
Mhm.
Union. So they were just trying to catch up. They had loans to pay back because, America gave them a loan, the money
Mhm.
to borrow for weapons and food. Their soldiers were starving while fighting the Nazis, you know.
Mhm.
So they were just trying to catch up. And instead of growing the country in the way that they should have been, they were focusing on rebuilding and military, you know.
Interesting. In case there was like World War III or
Yeah.
whatever. Interesting. Well, that's a good explanation.
Yeah. I could be wrong. We can bring in an expert, but that's what we've lived with and what we understood, you know. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's pretty crazy. It's just, it's scary to think that, you know, my husband is 11 years older than me, and when he tells me about things from his childhood, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. And he's like,
Yeah.
man, you guys are like really behind, you know.
Have they caught up now?
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely better, but look, they're in the middle of a war right now.
Right, right. Yeah.
Of course, they're not hurting as bad as Ukraine is. It's awful what they're
Mhm.
doing. I mean, they're leveling the country.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm sure that's going to set them back. Look at all the countries that are refusing to do business with Russia, right?
Yep.
That's going to hurt. So
Yeah.
they're putting themselves back, definitely. So,
Yeah. So they're still putting their military first
oh,
instead of the people, it sounds like. Yeah.
of course. And people don't want a war, you know.
No.
It's awful. It's so sad, you know, but and it's not good because Putin is very against Israel, you know, he's very much backing Iran. I mean,
Yeah.
this is where a lot of this money for Hamas is coming from, you know, is
Oh, yeah.
so
Yeah.
that I don't know if they've proved it, but it's pretty obvious, you know. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, I don't know how we got on that, but oh, being an adult and telling my parents what to do. That's yeah. I was so good. My brother always says, "You were not a child when you were a child. You were never a teenager. You never went through those stages. You know, you were just born adult."
Yes, that's
They,
like my daughter, 100%. And then plus when I had breast cancer and the reconstruction, that has been so hard on her because she really had to step up for a long time. I wasn't allowed to move my arms at all, you know, and you can't clean the house with your feet and just do regular things. And I had to rest a lot. So she had to step up anyway at that point.
yeah,
So I really kind of feel guilty in a sense, and I'm sure a lot of women who were raising kids who went through cancer have a similar experience. But you kind of feel like you robbed your kids of their childhood in for those years.
yeah. How long was the whole process? You know, from finding
Few
out.
years, but to be honest, it's still a little bit ongoing because my fibromyalgia, my chronic fatigue syndrome, has never bounced back since then. And sometimes I worry it's because of the implants. Like when I was pregnant, anytime there was like a foreign object in my body, I tend to have these autoimmune, like, oh my gosh, let's,
Mhm.
you know, it's supposed
It,
to be a protective mechanism, but it's just really idiotic mechanism where it's just like, let's kill the body. I don't
mhm.
get it. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I've never quite, but look, I can't be flat chested. I know you want me to be, but I can't do it.
Well, I was gonna say, if you took them out, what is the other option? Not to have anything?
Right, just not to have anything. And when I did have cellulitis and then emergency surgery to remove one of my tissue expanders, that was so hard for me because it looked like bloody, like a tic tac toe. Like I had two stitches here. It is just like I felt like almost not a mummy or a zombie, but just somebody that was, it
Yeah.
didn't feel like me. And I'm a very girly girl. Like the day I went to have my double mastectomy, I wanted to feel as feminine as possible. So I wore like these really cute zipper um boots that 6-inch heels and stilettos and the jewelry and the
Yeah.
makeup. And so for me to just think about a life where I would have to not have implants would just,
Yeah.
like, if I identified as a boy, I'd be all about it. But
Right.
I identify as a girl and I was born a girl, and I just feel like I don't know. What would
You
you
know,
do if you were
yeah.
me?
Wait, so you went in with full on makeup and jewelry, and then did they go like, hello, you need to take all this off? Like,
Well,
what?
they didn't say that to me, but when I was in surgery, they just remove it all.
Oh, they did it all. Oh my God, that's so
Yeah.
funny. I
Yeah, it
can
was kind of
totally see
funny.
you doing that. Yeah. No, I think it would be very hard. And I feel for your daughter. I feel for you. And I think I want to say it made her stronger, but yes, that's kind of what happens with daughters. We
Yeah.
just kind of I don't know if it's even I'm sure you didn't expect her to do all of this, but she just, stepped up, and I
Yeah.
mean, you have to help out. What are you going to do, right? This is your
Exactly.
mom, and it's hard. I feel for her, but it's going to make her stronger. It
Yes.
what defines who we are. It's just all the not the struggle that we go through, because you never want to define yourself as the things that have happened to you, right? But
Exactly.
it builds you up as a person. At least I hope that's how she looks at it.
I think so. And I mean, kind of like what you did with your little brother, she really had to step up and get him ready for school and kind of take care of him one summer and take him places and step up as a mom in many ways. But yeah, like you said, I think it definitely did make her a stronger person.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Well, but also at least it wasn't her entire
Right.
life, as a
That's
teenager or whatever, right? It's a small part in your life that this happens, and the worst hopefully is over. But I don't know about the whole implant thing. Honestly, I've
yeah.
always, I had a breast reduction, and I talked about in previous podcasts, and we've talked about it. I'm
Yeah.
huge proponent of doing what makes you feel better, and what obviously not to use plastic surgery, because that's the only way you think you're going to be okay, and finally
Yeah.
better. There's a whole argument about that. My whole thing was that I was huge. I was always big. My mom is not that big. My grandma is not that big. I have no idea where I got all the boobs from, but
And yeah, it was in the village.
I don't know. It was some other mother or father or whoever I'm
Yep.
a part of. And I suffered all of my life until I finally did it. And I didn't do it until after I had my kids, because they were just growing. I was telling you the other day, if you remember those,
Yeah.
not remember, you go to the store and you see those long watermelons. That's what each baby looked like. It was long, full, and big, and it was awful. So I actually want to do it again and make him even smaller, because I don't think he did him small enough. To me, the smaller the better. Like, I'd be happy with a little A cup. But I get
Okay.
it, because I've struggled with having too large, chest. So
Right.
someone who has always been smaller or lost them, yeah, that's a totally different situation. So we always want what we don't have, right? Hair,
Exactly.
nose,
Right.
everything.
But would you be okay with nothing?
If I had no choice, I don't think I would ever do implants, just because, like you said, it's a foreign object, it's a foreign
It
body.
is.
But I
Yeah.
think for you, there's really no other alternative, right? And
Right, right. But you're a girly girl also.
I am, but you know what I would do? I would
What?
wear those wrap dresses and those things that you can't wear, like buttons. I can't do
Right.
buttons
What?
because
Oh,
I
because your chest it'll gap.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's always a hole there. So I always have to have something under, or
Right.
I buy large tops, and I have to buy like small bottoms. So nothing is ever matched.
Yeah.
Talk about like bathing suits, or even one piece stuff. Like, I love jumpsuits, and nothing ever fits right, because it's always large on the top, small on the bottom, and I have
Yeah.
to take things in. So I mean, listen, it's a first world problem, right?
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
We shouldn't complain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know how it would be in that situation. You never know unless you're there, right?
Yes.
But I always
Right.
wanted smaller, smaller, smaller. I remember buying those minimizer bras which not the
Oh,
most comfortable, but
I
they
didn't
make
know they
them.
had that.
Yeah, I think a lot of like department stores, Macy's and Nordstrom, and they just basically make it look smaller, but it looks like you have a uniboob, like it's one.
Oh
So
no.
there's no break.
Oh no, that's not good either.
It's not, no. So God, it's really hard being a woman.
It so
Really,
is. It so is.
right?
It's-
It's
Yeah.
crazy what we go through. And I don't know if men appreciate what we go through and to look good and just everything, right? Between periods and giving birth and oh my God, it's a lot.
I would love for men to start having periods and
Mm.
giving birth. Let's just decide, let's say, in the year 2027, all men are going to have to be women that year just so they can empathize better.
I agree. I think they should. You know those videos? Have you seen those uh devices they put on in a man to stimulate
Yeah,
the cramps for period, and they're not even like bad. They start out at one or
right.
something, right? And they're like, "Oh my God." And she's like, "That's just one, like level one."
Right. Yeah. Those were
Right?
really funny.
And they can't get past like level 3 or 4 or something. I'm like, "Can you imagine what contractions feel like?"
I know. Were you one of the screamers who would scream, or were you just kind of quietly in
Hmm.
pain?
You mean during labor or
Mhm.
during okay. So the funny thing is my oldest was overbaked. He was like 10 days or a week overdue. And so I went into labor and I was like, no, I can do this. I can do this. I don't need an epidural. And then at a certain point, like a few hours later, there's like, it's just not progressing. His oxygen's going down, my oxygen's going, or blood pressure, whatever it was. And they figured out, he came out at 9 pounds. So he was a
Wow.
baby. He was like 22 inches long, and I have a pretty small torso, so he was so
Yeah.
wrapped around in there. It must have been the cord or something that he was sitting on. I don't know what it was. So I
Wow.
ended up having a C-section.
Okay. Yep.
But I was prepared to scream. I was prepared to yell. I was already when they were wheeling me into the operating room for an emergency C-section after like
Yeah.
15 hours of labor.
Wow.
I was screaming at my husband. I was like, "This is all your fault. Why the hell do we have to have a baby?" And the guy, I don't know, the orderly or the nurse, whoever it was, he looked
Yeah.
at my husband. He's like, "They all say that. Don't even listen. Don't pay attention." As soon as
I
that
heard
kid comes
that's an
out,
actual stage. Yeah.
oh yeah, he's like, "Oh, it's all good. It's all. Don't even pay attention to it." And he's like crying. He's like, "I'm sorry."
Oh, that's so sweet of him.
Yeah. But do you had
I
regular?
never had regular labor. I never even
Oh,
experienced. I mean, the most I
what?
had were those Braxton Hicks.
You're kidding. What happened? You just planned the C-section or?
Well, so my first pregnancy, I was 2 months early and I had developed severe preeclampsia. So
Oh, wow.
I was in the hospital on bed rest and it was like this whole thing. And they were planning on doing a regular birth, but
Mhm.
then basically they were checking my blood and my urine and like every 15 minutes and all of a sudden the
Mm.
lights go on and they're like, sorry, we can't, you're literally dying.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, so that. So he was in the NICU anyway, and then my second one, it was less of an emergency. They said I had 24 hours.
Wait,
They're
24
like,
hours
you have
for
24 hours, so we're gonna give you somewhat,
uh,
but it really wasn't a choice because they said you're
yeah.
not at all. This time I was at least 38 weeks, which is
Mm.
full term. But they said you're not at all dilated, and because of your blood clot disorder, we can't give you the pitocin to dilate
Mhm.
you. So they're like, you can try, but
Mm.
yeah. So, and then once you have two, I think once you have two C-sections, they say it's
Yeah.
dangerous. So anyway, my third
Yeah.
one was just planned. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy and that's so scary. Can you imagine like just as scary as it is for you, but I imagine for each partner that is watching, their woman going through this, like, I can't imagine the thoughts going through their head. And
Yeah.
I remember my parents got there with my first, and as soon as they said the word C-section, back in the days when my parents had kids, that was a death sentence, right? Especially in a third
Oh.
world country, having a
Oh.
C-section was like, oh, that's it, she's gonna be dead. So
Oh my
my
goodness.
dad was freaking out. He was telling Scott, pulling him aside, don't let them do C-section. Don't let them do it. No, 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 no.
Oh
And he's like,
no.
Vlad, I don't have a choice. The doctors are telling
Right.
me, or the baby's gonna die, something can happen. He's like, no, no C-section. Like, he thought I was dead.
Wow.
And then the second time, when I had my Nicholas, my second one, I had it planned because I had what the heck is that? Where your um placenta is in front of the baby, but it's supposed to be behind the baby. Placenta previa. That's it.
Okay.
So I had that, and they were ready with like extra blood because you just
Oh
bleed to
wow.
death.
Oh
If you,
no, that's what it is. Okay, I see
yeah,
it in movies sometimes. So
right.
that's what
So
it is. Okay.
they had like extra blood on hand. They had to give me an antibiotic, and it was a planned C-section. And they asked me for an antibiotic, are you allergic to cephalexin or Keflex? I was like, nah, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think I've ever had it. Well, apparently I was, because
Oh no.
as they were there trying to get the baby out, all of a sudden I'm like, I can't breathe. And this anesthesiologist who was standing on my head,
Mhm.
he's like this big burly New Yorker, and he's like, you're fine, you're
Oh
okay.
no.
He's not listening to me. You know how they
That's
say
awful.
this is how women die, is because the medical personnel don't take them seriously. The doctors don't take them seriously when they're telling them something is wrong. And he's like, oh, it's just the pressure from the baby, you're fine.
What an
And I'm like,
idiot.
I in my head, I'm like, I've had this before. I know the pressure from them pulling the baby out. I can't
Yeah.
breathe right here. My throat is closing in. I was like, doing this.
Oh my
Not
gosh.
until my husband looked at him and said, she's turning blue. She can't breathe. Do something. Like, he
Yeah.
screamed.
Oh
And
my.
then the guy's like, oh shit. I hear him say that. Runs
Yeah.
to get the EpiPen or whatever, the needle,
Oh my
drops it,
gosh.
dropped it on my husband's foot, and went to get another one. In the meantime, I'm starting to pass out because
Oh my, that's so scary
that's
and sad.
and in my so I yell out, I'm gonna die. Before I do, I want to see my baby. Like, let me see my
Oh.
baby, right?
Oh.
I don't even remember saying this. My husband told me later. And so all of a
Wow.
sudden, like, I feel this crazy pain, like he just stabbed me with it, stabbed my arm. And then all this, when they do that, all the blood rushes and oxygen like rushes to your head so you could
Okay.
breathe again. So this horrible pain, it was like a
Oh
burst
no.
of pain. I was like, oh my God, like I'm in so much pain, but I could breathe again. And so afterwards, because I started to turn blue, as you do when you're about to pass out or die,
Yeah.
when they wheeled me into the room afterwards, my dad comes in and he goes, what's wrong with your face? I'm
Oh.
like, what? I was blue. And I
Oh
didn't
my
know I was blue.
gosh.
So my husband's like, Vlad, shut up. Like, what? But he's like,
Oh.
well, what happened? So he had to tell him the whole story. And oh my God, it's scary what we go through, right? As
I
women.
I was about to say I already know the answer, but I'm sure he did not apologize, that anesthesiologist,
Nope.
did he?
Nope, no apology. My husband went to talk to my doctor. We were trying, because that could have been a big lawsuit right there. If
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, thank God you were okay, but exactly.
yeah, yeah, I should have probably made a more of a fuss about it, but I was just so happy to be alive
Yeah,
that I
no,
kind of just let
I
it
don't
go. But
blame you, but I
yeah,
actually had something similar, and he was a high risk doctor.
oh,
And he still was so dumb. And he told me, "Oh, you'll be fine, you'll be fine." And then, of course, I had to go to the ER because I wasn't fine. But he messed up. He was arrogant and dumb. And so many patients complained about him that he did get fired from the clinic.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank God.
I
'Cause
know. Because it's like you can be one or the other, but both, not good.
that's a deadly, combination, a mix of, yeah. Wow. I think they just really, I don't know if it's some men have a hard time listening to women and truly taking them seriously, or they think they know better. And we're exaggerating, right? Like back in the day, remember they used to say we have hysteria
Oh,
when
yeah.
women, right? We would have hysteria and they would prescribe an orgasm. You had to go into an office and they would do it for you. First it
What
was
do you
their
mean?
hand, and then
Oh,
they
that's so funny.
invented. This is how sex toys came about, vibrators.
I had no idea because of
You didn't know? Oh my gosh.
no.
Because I researched this stuff to death, and that is how sex toys, vibrators, whatever, they came on the market. It's because they thought women were just being hysterical, and to calm them down they needed an orgasm, which back then it was like a medically induced. I don't even know how they
I
thought, which it makes sense. It calms you down, it relaxes you, but they would prescribe them, you
oh
know?
my gosh.
Yeah,
This is crazy.
right? We should have started
Wow.
talking about
This
this in the
sounds
beginning.
this is I mean, it sounds like something my husband would say to me, but
It's true.
crazy.
Okay, we're gonna need to dive into that next time, because I will
Yeah.
bring documents, I will bring
Yeah.
research, I will show. Yeah, there is a whole thing on that. And of course, it was male doctors that came
Of
up with
course.
these toys, and
Yeah.
they weren't really accurate. And obviously over the years women started to perfect things and make it more of what it should be. But yeah, it's a whole thing.
Wow. Well,
It's
I mean,
crazy.
it sounds like all the time if I'm fighting with my husband and I'm PMS, he's like, "You know what you need? You need my semen. That'll
Well, I
fix
don't
it."
know if you need that, but you need the climax.
But that's what no, he'll say it's my semen. Last night I was in a really good mood. He's like, "You're welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's me. it's
It's
it's me.
me." That's what he's like. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm like, "So do you think you could just solve all the world's problems with your semen?" He's like, "Probably."
Hey, they've tried. I mean, look at all the wars. I
Yeah,
think.
it's because they don't have Daniel's semen inside of them.
Exactly. Yeah, we need more
Sorry, that's a
women.
bit much.
He's going to be so happy about this podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Don't let him listen. Yeah, but
No. Yeah,
anyway, well, yeah, we've covered a range of topics, as we always do.
we always do.
So thank you for indulging me and making me laugh as you always do.
You make me laugh.
Yeah, we'll continue on that topic next time. And next time, I think we have a guest. We actually have a lot of interesting guests coming up, authors and activists. We got a whole thing for our listeners.
I am so
So
excited. Yeah.
they have to stay tuned. So,
Yes.
yes. So thank you for listening. If you're still with us so far, we really appreciate it. And thank you for being here, Heidi. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Julia. Always a pleasure. And thank you to our listeners.
Yes, and tune in next time because we're going to have exciting guests for you and more talk about
Semen.
hysteria and theme toys and what they were really created for.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share. And even if you didn't enjoy it, share anyway. Thank you for listening and come back to Someone Had to Say It.